Hey, it's Zane here, and I want to send you a short New Year's message about how it is that you can take ownership of your life and health this year. And, as we start a new year, I'm sure you would agree it's always a great time to clear the decks, to reset, to recalibrate, and to set some intentions and some personal goals to really elevate your life in whatever area is important to you. And for me, each year I make a newfound commitment to myself just to really take ownership of my self-care, my self-education, that I always practice self-leadership, because there's not a lot of great leadership available around us anymore. And so it's so important that we cultivate and begin to learn the art of self-leadership. And I certainly believe that as we move forward into 2024, it's going to become more and more apparent that the number one thing that you and I can be really focused on right now is our health, our vitality, our well-being, preparing ourselves in the most robust fashion that we can for the future. There's a lot of commentary out there right now that suggests that we're in for some pretty rocky times ahead. And so, you and I really need to start by focusing on what we can control. And I truly believe that that really begins with our mental health, our physical health, and our emotional well-being as well. So I want to just take a few minutes here today to share my thoughts with you around how it is that we can approach 2024, get off on the right foot, and really elevate our overall wellness in every aspect of our life. The first thing to understand is that wellness is all about a holistic approach. In fact, if you were to look up the definition of wellness just on Google, what you'll find is that it's all about cultivating physical, mental, and emotional health as an actively pursued goal. And inherently in that definition is the fact that wellness doesn't just happen. Feeling good, looking good, being resilient, having strong immunity, avoiding dis-ease, dysfunction, discomfort, that doesn't just happen. It happens when you pursue wellness. And so I truly believe that as we get into our middle years, and I just turned 51 just a few days ago, it becomes more and more important that if we want to get into the later stages of life, being the best version of ourselves, avoiding pain, being mobile, being agile, being able to follow our passions and do the things that perhaps we've always done, we need to really pursue wellness as a pastime. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to devote every hour of the day to, our diet or going to the gym or meditating or doing yoga or anything like that. What it means is that we need to prioritize our health and well-being. We need to prioritize our self-care if we want to be the best version of ourselves. Now, you and I both know people, perhaps in our own family or close circle, who get into their middle to later stages of life and they just gradually end up in a state of steady decline. And for me, that's very, very sad. I think, we only get one shot at life. We only get one physical body. We only get one mind. And so we need to be doing all that we can to really harness the power of those things and to take care of them, because there's a tremendous cost associated with us not doing that. And quite often we don't begin to really see that cost until it's too late. In fact, I'm reminded of a statement that, the late, great Steve Jobs wrote from his deathbed. And, he died at just 56 years old. Of course, Steve Jobs, one of the co-founders of Apple, one of the true creative geniuses of our time. I'm sure you would agree that, the Apple products have touched pretty much all our lives. And so, for somebody of that level of intellect and who was able to make that much of a difference and build fame and build fortune and a company that had such an impact worldwide, to get on his deathbed and to basically say that he'd give away everything to be able to get his health back, should tell you everything you need to know. Without our wellness, without our health, the reality is we actually don't have much at all. It doesn't matter what you have, what you've accumulated. It doesn't even matter what kind of relationships that you have. If you don't look after yourself, ultimately, there's going to be a cost to that down the line, and ultimately you're going to find that you don't have much at all. So for me, that's the driving force, and that's the reason why I've actually put together a program which I'll be launching in the first quarter of this year called Rock Solid Wellness, where I'm going to be really helping people who are in their middle years to take back control of their health and wellness. And I really focus on 4 key pillars. Number 1, mindset. Number 2, nutrition. Number 3, movement. And the 4th being lifestyle, the daily habits and rituals that make us tick. And so, when you think of wellness holistically, it really encompasses every aspect of our life. And, I could sit here and talk for hours about any particular one of those pillars, and we could probably expand wellness out to include, your passions, your relationships, avoiding disease. We could probably end up with 10 pillars if we really thought about it. But I really believe that we just focus on those core 4 can make a massive difference to how we look, how we feel, how we show up, how we're able to, maintain our productivity, how we're able to stay on track with our relationships, our passions, all of the things that really light us up and that make us as human beings. So today I just want to leave you with a handful of tips that I believe, if you focus on these areas, it's a good basis and a good foundation for you to move forward and to have a great 2024. And when your body and your mind is strong, you're able to do great things. I'm sure you will agree. So first and foremost, just realize that wellness is an investment. Wellness is a mindset. It is an investment in your future. And you don't necessarily notice from day to day the impact that you're having by doing all the right things. In the same way that when you invest in your wealth, you don't realize that making those deposits into your managed fund or into real estate or into any assets that you're accumulating, you don't necessarily see the impact of that day to day. But over the course of time, as it begins to accumulate, you begin to get the rewards. You begin to reap the rewards and to reap what you sow. And that's what I believe is the same thing that applies to our health and well-being. The more we invest, the more we place those deposits into our wellness bank every single day, the better that's going to show up and have an impact on our mind and body health as time goes on. So think of wellness as a mindset. That would be the number 1 thing. Mindset really comes down to our belief systems, our values or priorities, and also our level of motivation. I think it's really important as a driving force to help you do the right things on a daily basis is to have a basic why, have a reason for choosing or making the right choices every single day. It's very easy for us to make poor choices, but to make good choices quite often just means that we need to have a little self-talk. We need to have a little dialogue with ourselves just to ensure that we're in alignment with our values, with our why. And so for me, one of the driving forces is just to be able to get into my 60s, 70s and beyond, and to be able to follow my passions, to remain active, agile, mobile, to be able to chase my grandkids around the park that I'm sure are going to be in my life by then. And so for me, it's a pretty simple why. I just every day I get up, I do certain things because I know that I'm putting deposits in my wellness bank, and I want you to do the same. So number 1 is mindset and your attitude towards your health and well-being, and realizing you only get one shot at it. Number 2 is to just ensure that you're eating a clean diet. Now, I'm not an advocate for any particular diet. I eat a variety of different things. And in fact, diet, the word diet actually comes of the Latin diete, deity, which actually means manner of living. And a lot of people don't realize this. They go through life and they swing in and out of certain eating protocols or diets. And, you know, we've got the weight loss industry and the diet industry and the food industry to thank for that. You know, people are very confused about an area that it should actually be pretty simple. There's no real consensus as to what diet works for everybody. In fact, I'm a great believer that, you know, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to anything. And so you and I have to be intuitive in our approach. We have to experiment. We have to find what works for us. What works for me doesn't necessarily, won't necessarily work for you or the next person. So anybody who tells you, any expert or guru or, you know, medical practitioner who says to you that this is the way, you know, you need to approach your diet, without going through a process of experimentation for you to see how your body reacts to that, you know, I believe is doing you a disservice. There is so many conflicting opinions out there, and any expert who advocates a certain way of eating, you know, is not doing a service to humanity, I believe, because, you know, in the same way that one guru will say one thing, there's another one who will say totally the opposite, with the same level of conviction. So I've come to the conclusion over the years that we need to be intuitive in our approach. I think where there is consensus is on things that we should be definitely avoiding. And it really comes down to 4 core areas, what is often referred to as the core 4 things that we should avoid. Before I share those with you, you know, there's only really 2 keys to a great eating plan or great nutrition. One is high vibration foods, and number 2 is, you know, avoiding high inflammation foods. And so the core 4 really make up these high inflammation foods. And number 1 is industrial seed oils, canola oil, safflower oil, vegetable oil, hydrogenated vegetable oils, not only the pure oils in their own right, but also, you know, they are a big part of a lot of the processed and packaged foods that you'll find on your supermarket shelf. Many of them have these hydrogenated oils in them, and they create chaos in the body. And so if you're in search of better health, you want low inflammation, you really want to avoid industrial seed oils. They're in a lot of takeaway foods, frozen foods, cookies, cakes, biscuits, etc. So number 1 is to avoid products that contain industrial seed oils, and instead go for cold pressed plant oils, things like extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed oil, even coconut oil. Even though it's a saturated fat, it has a very, very high heat point and is great for frying and baking and those kinds of things. Number 2 is to avoid factory farmed dairy products, highly inflammatory. So products that are pasteurized and homogenized, pretty much 80% of the dairy products that you'll find on your supermarket shelf, you'll want to consider avoiding those. If you want to eat dairy, I have no problems with dairy. Just make sure that it's raw and organic, as much as possible. And you can find products, if you look hard enough, in major supermarkets that haven't been tampered with. And even if you go to stores like Flannery's and health food supermarkets, you'll find milk generally labelled as bath milk due to regulations around that. But of course, you know, you and I both know that there's no problem with consuming that. It's the best form of milk to consume if we are going to drink milk, because all the enzymes are intact. And we're not going to experience the inflammation that we do through factory farm dairy. So avoid industrial seed oils, factory farm dairy, processed meats. It's another one. So things like salami, ham, corned meats, sausages, those kinds of things. You really want to limit those, highly inflammatory in the body. If you are going to eat meat, then go for pasture-raised, grass-fed, you know, wild-caught seafood. It's just common sense stuff that you need to be adopting. The 4th thing is to avoid, of course, processed and refined sugars. And this is a big one. You know, in my mind, sugar really is the devil when it comes to refined sugar. There's a big difference between refined processed sugar and natural sugars that you'll find in you know, whole fruits and whole foods. Very, very different in terms of the molecular structure. So you want to go, you want to go for, if you want sweet foods, you want to go for whole foods, how they come forth naturally in nature through fresh fruits, nuts, seeds, grains, vegetables, those kinds of things, dates, figs, and just avoid processed sugar at all costs, because it's going to spike insulin. It's going to make your body lay down fat. It's going to cause you to crash and burn. It can even increase blood pressure. So, it's just one of those common sense things to avoid. Apart from diet, you really want to focus on, getting out into nature often, connecting with the beauty of the world around you. And I think this is a great wellness tip that not enough people talk about. There's a lot that happens emotionally when we get outside and we're in the forest or out in amongst the trees in the park, or walking barefooted sand on the sand at the beach, or taking a swim in the ocean. And I'd highly encourage you to, if you're not already, incorporate some kind of outdoor connection activity with the earth at least once per week. Myself, I do a lot of cross-country mountain biking. Pretty much every week I go for an extended ride out in the forest. A lot of the times I'm on my own. So for me, it's a great connection mechanism. I also hike on Burleigh Hill a couple of times a week, do a 5-6K hike. And it's just awesome to be out amongst nature, in amongst the trees. Senses are involved. Quite often I don't even listen to any music or a podcast or anything during that time. I just allow my body to immerse itself in my natural surroundings. And it's amazing how I feel. I pay attention to my breath. Creates a lot of emotional balance for me. Allows me to focus and set intentions, get clear on things that I want to achieve. So I'd encourage you to do that at least once per week. Get out into nature and connect with it often. Probably the fourth and final tip that I'll share with you today is, in 2024, I'd highly encourage you to, if you're not already, to find a passion or to reinvigorate an old dormant passion that you may have. Now, when we're kids, we are naturally attracted to certain activities. We gravitate to certain things just because of our general makeup and even our attributes that we're born with. And so it's very easy as kids to experiment with a lot of things and then to naturally find something that appeals to us, that we enjoy. Trouble is, as we get older, we tend to lose those passions and that zest for those passions. And we even may play mind games with ourselves and kind of say to ourselves that, we're getting a bit past it. We're too old for that. That's childish. Don't have time. It's not a great use of my time. But, I definitely think the opposite. I definitely think the more that we can continue to cultivate the child within us, the better we're going to be, the younger we're going to feel. It's going to spin off with how we show up. And so, at all costs, I think that we should continue to cultivate and, really practice and set aside time for our passions. And it could be playing a musical instrument. It could be playing, putting together puzzles or model airplanes. It doesn't matter what it is. And maybe it's been a lot of years since you've found something that brings you joy and allows you to just feel that sense of self-fulfillment and happiness and accomplishment. But this is the year that I encourage you to do that. And if passion's not your thing, then set a personal goal and go after it. When I turned 50, not December gone, but the one before, in December 2022, I said to my wife, this is the year. I was just coming off a knee surgery, and I made a commitment to my wife. I said, this is the year that I'm going to go after some of these cross-country mountain biking events, these stage races that I've been putting off for the last few years. And I made a commitment. I blocked out 4 sets of dates in my calendar, and I ticked off every single event. And just the sense of accomplishment and achievement, not only in overcoming the surgery and getting back on the bike and having something to strive for, to train for, to commit to. There's a tremendous sense of accomplishment that goes with that, and it really has a spin-off effect into other areas of your life. So that's about it for today. I mean, definitely some other things I'd love to share, but I think that's enough for this particular video. Get your mindset right, treat wellness as an investment, be really conscious of what you eat. Make sure you're eating a clean diet, avoid inflammatory foods, get out into nature at least once per week, and practice your passion. And if you do those things, you're going to go a long way to looking great, feeling great, and having yourself the mindset to move forward and basically get whatever you want from life in 2024. So I hope you got something from that. I want to wish you the best for this year. I've made a commitment to myself to share a little bit more this year, and definitely having set aside some time to take what I've learned and put it into a program I want to be able to share with those who need help in their life. But other than that, I'll still be sharing my messages in short form here on my platform here. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. This is Zane signing out. Till next time, stay strong and live well. Bye for now.